Good morning, everyone. My name is Mighty Stream. I'm going to do your September the 17th, just for today, in a meditation. The title of today's meditation, Going Beyond, Step 5. Going Beyond, Step 5. We may think that we have done enough by writing about our past. We cannot afford this mistake. Basic text, page 32. Some of us aren't too keen on writing out our fourth step. Others take it to an obsessive extreme. To our sponsors' growing dismay, we inventory ourselves again and again. We discover everything there is to know about why we were the way we were. We have the idea that thinking, writing, and talking about our past is enough. We hear none of our sponsors' suggestions to become entirely ready to have our defects removed or make amends for the harm we've caused. We simply write more about those defects and delightedly share our fresh insights. Finally, our worn out sponsor withdraws from us in self-defense. Extreme as this scenario may seem, many of us have found ourselves in just such a situation. Thinking and writing and talking about what was wrong with us made us feel like we had it all under control. Sooner or later, however, we realized we were stuck in our problems, the solution nowhere in sight. We knew that if we wanted to live differently, we would have to move on beyond step 5 in our program. We began to seek the willingness to have a higher power remove the character defects of which we'd become so intensely aware. We made amends for the destruction we had caused others in acting out on those defects. Only then did we begin to experience the freedom of an awakening spirit. Today, we're no longer victims. We are free to move on in our recovery. Just for today, although necessary, steps 4 and 5 alone will not bring out emotional and spiritual recovery. I will take them and then I will act on them. Let's take a moment of silence, followed by the we version of Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference just for today. Please and thank you. What a powerful meditation. I've been in this place in regards to going beyond step 5 with sponsees, right? I've been in this place and they can write and write and write and write so well, or talk and talk and talk so well. But at some point in time, all of that stuff that is revelatory, right? About what we did, when we did it, how we did it. At some point in time, we have to move out of that phase, ruminating about all of the things that we're experiencing and do something to change our responses. Okay, you're in a relationship, it failed again. Okay, year 2, a relationship and it failed again. Let me guess, this is how it started and this is how it ended, right? Okay. And that's repetitive, right? It's who we are. It's the way that we function, the way that we think and see things, operating out of our character defects, right? Our faulty schema, right? It's coming out of that place. And so we really can't expect to act any differently to get a different result until we begin to accept that the thought process that caused this chain reaction needs to be adjusted. And we have the greatest potential for that to happen. Listen, drugs are mind and mood altering. So when we take the drugs out of our system, that is the most beautiful opportunity for us to begin to start making adjustments to the way that we think. Some of us have this thinking, lie at all costs. The lies come so quickly out of our mouths that we don't even realize we're lying. And by the time we realize we're lying, it's too late because we've already fabricated this big story. And now you have to remember to tell a consistent story the next time you encounter this person. But lo and behold, we find we dropped the ball in the lie, in the fabricated story. We dropped the ball because we're not sure which one we told them. And they will say, well, I thought you said that. Oh, you left that part out. Okay. They'll give you a pass, but in the back of their mind, they're saying, I know this child is lying. So sometimes the character defect of fear, worrying about whether or not a person is going to accept us just the way we are, we find ourselves telling lies, and that's the shortcoming. And before we know it, what is said in this meditation is true, right? Finally, our worn out sponsor withdraws from us in self-defense. See, I can't help a person fix something that they don't believe is broken. But my pattern of relationships, right? With this broken picker, this neediness, this sense of abandonment, no one wants me or loves me. Why would I want to come away from it? If it always allowed me to be in the limelight of telling the story of how someone else misused me. What would make me want to change that? Well, sometimes what it is when your sponsors say, you know what, I've had enough. And I don't even know what else to say. Because you can write and talk all day long, but if you're not ready to change and move beyond this step 5 scenario that we're in, right? This slow motion movie that we're in with your step 5 that is continually adding stories to it every day. If you're not ready for change, I don't know what else to say. I'm glad you're not using drugs, right? But when you cry and tell me that you feel like you might as well be, I don't even know what to say to that. I know to say, on the surface level, no, you don't want to go back there. If it's like this, bad as this is, it can get worse. The behavior hasn't changed, but it could get a lot worse because this is the best that you bring into the table and you're not using drugs. Can you imagine what it would be like if you were? See, we have a program called Narcotics Anonymous that is a spiritual program and not religious. This is the best deal going for any recovering individual, any person seeking change. This is the best deal going because we don't even tell you who your God has to be or what your God has to be, or even that you have to have a God. You actually get to come into a program that could care less who, what, or when your higher power is. We don't even want to have those discussions with you about religion and doctrine. We don't even want to do that because we know that truly the essence of a higher power, a God, is greater than all the doctrines, right? It's spiritual. And every human being has the ability to tap into their relatability to a higher power, their spirituality. Every human being has that. Not every human being will take that opportunity because they're too busy focused on the superficial stuff, the religiosity. But every human being has that potential. I call it a God box. Every person has that within them and is waiting to be filled by that relationship with their higher power specifically. That's why we need to know it's not religious. And when a person has that peace, that third step piece, right? When they have that, it helps them through the cycle of the steps. It's there for that purpose of increasing understanding, increasing one's spiritual well-being. But when a person refuses to move out and beyond the writing and the talking, and they're not changing anything, it makes you wonder, where is that person truly when it comes to their higher power? And if that is you, there's a couple of suggestions that I had to take, a couple of steps I had to take. One, I had to go back to the fact that my higher power came from the God of my mother and grandmother's understanding. It was a higher power that was given to me as an inheritance. But there was so much fire and brimstone that came with that, that I was always operating out of, I have to change this behavior if I'm going to get the love and the care and the eternity that I desire on the other side of this physical life. So my motive was whack from the jump. I had to take a look at that. I was saying my God was loving and caring, but I did not believe it. The second thing that I had to do, if this is you, if you're on this wheel of going around and doing the same thing over and over, but you're claiming that you have a higher power, but you can't see the proof of the spirituality of that relationship. The second thing that I had to do was I had to forgive myself and others and make space for a new understanding. I had to give myself that permission. No, I wasn't at the eighth and ninth step when I did it. No, no. This wasn't about me making amends to other folk. No, this was about me allowing myself room to understand and appreciate that the information you got was the best that you were going to get given the circumstances you were in. And you need to allow yourself to say that served its purpose, but now it's a new day and I have to do something different. Otherwise, I will hang myself. Otherwise, I will go back to using. Otherwise, I will continue to lay on my back, thinking that men's attention was what was going to give me value. I had to do that. And I'm trying to pull you into this meditation and say, hey, you're not by yourself. Mighty Stream has been here before. And these are the steps that I had to take. I had to forgive myself and forgive others and make room for my true need and understand, which had to be a loving and caring God that would extend itself even when I was in fear and could not reach out in prayer and meditation. I needed to know the presence. I need to have that type of higher power that would love me regardless to what actions. I didn't have to earn my way into that relationship. It came without condition. And when I got to the point where I found that, I began to adjust my vision on that and begin to forgive others and forgive myself and make space for the real higher power that I needed, the real God, the real God. When I was able to do that, I was able to move past this. And I was eventually able to say, now I humbly ask you, right, to remove my shortcomings because now I'm entirely ready to have these character defects removed from me, 6 and 7. But it was a journey. It was a journey of being my own God. It was a journey of dethroning myself and the God that had been passed on. I had to dethrone those. Yeah, they work together. They work together. So this is very deep. But if we can't be deep, sometimes go past 5 minutes without you clicking off because you don't have time to listen, come back to it. Because this is one of those meditations that needs more than just a few minutes. Because I sense that many of us are in this boat of going around and around and around. And as we spin on this never-ending circle of never changing our behavior, never having our character defects come to light enough to say, I'm entirely ready to have them removed. As we spin around in this, we begin to find ourselves in isolation and a level of obsession and compulsion that feels very similar to us chasing the drugs because now no one is wanting to be bothered with us. No one is trying to engage us. There are no invitations on the table to go fellowship because no one wants to hear our mess anymore. The sponsor is not sponsoring anymore because the sponsor is saying they're not even taking the small suggestions that I give them. And the simple thing of even calling me regularly or texting me regularly. They can't even take those suggestions. So who am I trying to help here? I have my own sponsor. And we find ourselves back up into a corner. We might be able to get out of clean because we've racked some time together, but we don't necessarily get out of it sane and in one piece. If you understand that, right? My name is Mighty Stream. I've enjoyed talking to you. I hope that you will have a beautiful day on purpose.